It's a bit of a weird video, this is, or should I say it's a bit of a weird purchase. I think I got a bit caught up actually in some of the recent videos of some of the closest subscribers that I look at, and there seems to be a bit of a renaissance on CRT purchases and CRT gaming. So Christ knows why, but on it's Thursday now, on yesterday I was looking on eBay, and I was just looking at CRTs. Don't know why, but for some unknown, weird, warped reason, I actually bid on a Sony CRT. I absolutely love Sony CRTs. They were my weapon of choice back in the 90s as regards to the type of TV that I preferred to have, especially from gaming consoles, without a doubt. Awesome tubes, love the Trinitron tubes. Let's say that when you're drunk. Personally, and the picture clarity is second to none for CRTs of that era, really. And I don't know why, moment of madness, I started bidding. Oh no, I didn't bid. I waited until there was like 15 seconds of the eBay sale to go, and I actually bid on it. Why am I doing this? And just put this into context. Next door in my gaming room, I have 4 arcade cabinets, 3 of which have got CRT tubes in them, and will accept all my gaming consoles that I've got. I've got various bits of interconnects that allow me to connect all my gaming consoles up to those cabs, and quite a few of my gaming consoles I've done control hacks, so I can use the control panel on the arcade cab. I've also got a spare arcade monitor, a CRT, in the garage, in case. I've also got a 21-inch CRT TV in the garage that has hardly ever been used, and again, that's just in case. So why the hell I put a bid in for another CRT TV, I haven't got a clue. I really haven't. Anyway, I actually won the bid, and it was for a Sony KV-21X1U TV. They're about 15 years old now, but I remember actually having one of these first time round. So yeah, I actually got it, actually won the bid for £4.20. I seriously don't need this TV, and actually I've got no room to put it, so I actually might end up taking it down the tip at some point in the near future. I thought I'd do a video just explain about the TV, give it a bit of background knowledge about the TV, about stuff to do with geometry and so forth. I've taken the back off it already. I've started tweaking the chassis. I've looked at the service menu. I've got test grids on there, etc, etc, etc. So yeah, just a bit of an in-depth sort of overview really of CRT and this particular CRT tube. It is an absolute cracking tube in essence, you know. In regards to the fact it only cost me £4.20, it is really good. The tube, for something that's 15 years old, the clarity is absolutely mint. It really is. You know, via a few tweaks that I've done on the chassis anyway, just to sharpen it up a bit and just to get it as I would prefer it. I've checked it with test patterns and test grids, and it's absolutely mint. I would wholeheartedly recommend that if you are looking for a CRT, there's plenty on eBay that are cheap. Go for a Sony. They're a known quantity. I know that a couple of my YouTube friends have gone out and bought things, B&O TVs, for instance, which are very nice TVs, but I don't believe the tubes are as good as the Sony Trinitrons, but that's my personal view on that. And I certainly don't want to be buying a CRT and having a smoked glass front to it, because that, you know, you might think it looks sexy, but to me you're taking away contrast, you're taking away brightness. Waste of time in my opinion doing that. I want to see the tube. I'm paying for a CRT tube, I want to see it. I don't want a piece of glass or plastic that's smoked in front of it. But I'm sure I'm going to get a load of abuse for saying that, certainly off 2 individuals, but anyway. I would like to have some thought-invoking discussion in the comments, if anything. But yeah, I'm really happy with this tube. I think it's absolutely mint, and it brings back that Renaissance factor for the good old days, because I remember what these tubes were like, and they, you know, even with age, I mean, this particular TV set just hasn't altered. It's just absolutely amazing, really. So yeah, so I'm going to cut to some video about the guts of the TV, what it looks like inside, what I've been changing, why I've changed it, etc, etc. Yeah, hope you find it interesting, guys. Speak to you again soon. Right, so this is the Sony 21-inch CRT. I'm just playing Harmful Park, as you can see, on the PlayStation 2. This is all connected via RGB SCART, of course. Just get you some close-ups there of the clarity of the screen. And as has been stated before, you never get a mega quality of reproduction on a camera, but you know, this gives you a bit of a hopeful insight to what this screen looks like, and it does. I mean, the colours and everything on it just are absolutely mint. One thing about this, well, I'm not going to pick it up on here specifically, you're going to struggle to see that, but the actual unit's got some real good speakers on it. It's got like a subwoofer enclosure. It actually uses enclosure as a bass boost, and there's actually ports at the back of the case. My hand's just going in there, so they're sort of bass ports, really. Yeah, sounds really good. I do like the styling of these sets. The black, well, they're not black, sort of a charcoal grey surround. They're pretty neutral looking TV, and I just like them. I'm just a lover of Sony CRTs, really. So yeah, so that's a quick look. Actually, you can see the speaker side there. You got full range sound. But yeah, so that's basically the recess where the speaker's behind that, and then you've got the bass boost ports at the right at the rear. So I have to apologise here for the awful light, but this is basically the Sony 21-inch CRT with the back off. Now, you know, these things aren't as frightening as what you know, you may have heard on various forums and so forth. Of course, you know, this TV has been switched on tonight, so there's a massive charge in here. I'm not going to go around, you know, and start to touch things that I know they're going to cause me problems. So, you know, stay off this sort of area here, and certainly don't want to be messing around with that thing there, because you start sticking your fingers underneath that, you might have a few skipped heartbeats. But basically what I'm going to look at doing is, on this device, I'm just get a light actually on here so you can see a bit better. Right, you see this component here, like with two screw type connectors on the back, you can see. Now the top one is for focus and the bottom one is for screen volts. Now I'm going to have a little bit of play with those, but primarily it's the screen volts, which is the bottom one, I'm going to adjust, because that's what seems to be turned up too much. So I'm going to actually turn that down to get rid of the sort of background colour you can really see on the CRT, to make it nice and black again. when you are on a black screen, you want it black. So I think that's what the problem is there. I might have a look at the focus, see whether or not I can actually sharpen it up slightly. But the focus seemed pretty good, to be fair. So, you know, here we have the CRT tube. It's fairly obvious. This here is the neck of the tube. This is what normally breaks when people start taking the back off a TV or an arcade monitor, because they catch this board here at the back, and it will just snap that glass tube neck bit off there, which basically renders the CRT useless. So I have discharged a few of these before. It's no great big deal, you know. It really isn't an issue going into the back of a TV like this, as long as or a CRT arcade monitor, as long as you know what you're doing. You take some basic precautions. So yeah, so these two screws here, I'm going to adjust these to try and bring the picture back to how I expect it to be, and we'll see how we get on. What I've also tweaked is that screw that you can see there, there. That appears to alter the convergence on the screen, so I've just given that a slight tweak. It wasn't far out, to be honest. It was about right, but the focus seemed fine as well, so there was nothing really to do there. The main one was the screen volts, and you're not gonna see this from this screen here, but it's not a bad screen. It's not a bad screen. Turn that off. Nice rich colours. Scan lines, baby. Yeah, it's nice rich colours. Not much bleed. In essence, a bit of a convergence issue at the top of the tube, but you know you're going to get that. It's no worse than an arcade monitor. That looks nice and crisp, and for £4.20, that's not bad actually after a bit of a tweak. Right, this is what happens when you get really involved in all this CRT shiz. Yeah, I mean, look at this. I've got a can of beer, soldering on, just about to fire up, because I'm just buttering this cable here. Basically, this is for a cable that I'm making up to go from an arcade PCB up to my Sony CRT here, because I want to get a proper test card on there from arcade PCB, just to check all the colouring. As you can see, I've got the service menu up, or you may not know this, but this is the service menu up for this particular Sony TV. So I'm just going through now, just setting the colours up really. I'm just making sure the colours are set up. I'm not too bothered about the geometry or anything really, because in my opinion it's not worth messing around unless it's really bad. There's no point worrying about things like overscan, because that's just, you know, you've got to deal with that. If you keep swapping consoles in and out and so forth, you're going to get different problems with different consoles. Right, so this is the Sony TV now with Guwang connected PCB, and this is just a test service menu on that particular game. And the reason for me using this is really just to get a decent colour bar up and to look at checking the actual geometry of the tube, which is fairly easy to look at when you have got a grid background, because you can look at things like compression and so forth, and convergence and all that, you know, pin cushion, all that good shiz. Basically, most of the things that you can actually set via the service menu. I've got to be honest, I do strongly recommend that you guys don't go too spastic over service menus, because you shouldn't have to use them on a TV. If the TV is a good TV, you shouldn't have to use them. Not for consoles anyway. You're going to get overscan, and just deal with it. It's absolutely fine. We had overscan 10 years ago with consoles. We never noticed it, so don't get too anal about it. Where things like overscan can cause issues are with PCBs. arcade PCBs, because most PCBs, as they change resolution, they will need adjustment, and this is why on an arcade cabinet you have all that adjustment to hand on a remote geometry board that's normally under the control panel. But for a TV, you're not going to keep pissing around with service menus, so don't blow it out of proportion about service menus, because you shouldn't need it. If you consider this, and this is one of the reasons why I absolutely love Sony Trinitron tubes. You won't believe this tube is what, 15 years old. It is absolutely crisp. Okay, I did some minor adjustments on the chassis, but nothing mind-blowing. You know, the colour grid there is more or less perfect. It's not worth messing around with. I could do via the service menu, but it's seriously not worth it. If we look at the grid in the corners, it is pretty much perfect. I mean, if you had an arcade cabinet that gave you a grid like this, an arcade monitor, sorry, that gave you a grid like this, you would be absolutely over the moon, because it is pretty perfect. And I haven't changed any of the geometry settings. And I said, this is a 15-year-old tube. You know, these Sony Trinitron tubes absolutely kick ass, in my opinion. Certainly on the smaller models. I mean, this is 21-inch, and it is absolutely mint. You just, you know, and this cost me £4.20. £4.20. Absolutely unbelievable. Why would you want to bother with getting all these scalers and crap when you can, you know, for £4.20? Okay, perhaps I got a bit of a bargain, but you know, so don't get too hung up and too mental about all of service menus and things like that. You shouldn't need to use them, so don't worry about it. So again, here we have the Sony CRT with the Guwang arcade PCB running on a Sony CRT, and you know, I mean, you can see, obviously I don't need to show this to you guys, you know, but there we go with the glorious scan lines. You know, not that this is what it's all about, but, well, yeah, it is pretty much. This is what it's all about. But yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good, that's a pretty mint picture, to be honest. And you know, on that tube, or on that image, there is an overscan issue. But, you know, who gives a shit? It's out by a couple of pixels. It's not going to make any great issues with the game itself, but, you know,